I meditated every day for a year, and this is what happened. So, I've been practicing meditation for decades now, but I had never given myself the goal or challenge of meditating every single day. So, when I would meditate, it would sometimes be sporadic, or maybe once or twice a week I would meditate, or I've gone on 10-day retreats where all I do is meditate 10 hours a day every day for 10 days in a row. And so, I'd done things like that, but I had never really given myself the task of meditating every day. And so, in order to make this really doable, I chose to give myself a minimum of 1 minute a day for a year. So I was giving myself a 365-day challenge of meditating every day for a year, and it would have to be for at least 1 minute a day. And I chose 1 minute because I wanted it to be doable, and I knew how impactful even just 60 seconds of breathing consciously would be. And so I knew that if I set a timer for 1 minute to meditate for 1 minute, and I would just tune into my breath, close my eyes, and breathe deeply and consciously for 1 minute, I'd probably get into the zone where I'd want to continue. And so for most of the days it was longer. I'd say my average meditation was probably closer to about 15 minutes, but having the minimum of 1 minute made it so easy, in that if ever there was a day where I realized like, oh, I haven't done my meditation yet, and I wasn't really in the mood to meditate that day, I at least knew, okay, well, just 1 minute. Like, it was so doable. And so this is how it became so possible and easy for me to meditate every single day for a year. And what led me to choose to do this every day was I was experiencing acute grief. So I had lost a loved one, and after losing a close loved one, especially if they pass younger than expected, we often experience 2 years of acute grief following the death of a close loved one. And while I was grieving, I was experiencing a feeling of loneliness, like really this empty space. And I wanted to give myself something where I showed myself that no matter what happens in life, because unfortunately death is a real part of life, that no matter what, I'll always be there for myself. And so every day I tuned in with my breath and with myself. It's really a moment, like I literally gave myself a moment, at least a minute every day, where I would tune in with myself. So I believe that we have a soul, a higher self. Doesn't really matter what you believe, but with physics we understand that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only transferred, and there's a lot of energy within us that exists, and I believe it exists beyond this body, and so it goes somewhere when we pass. Anyways, not gonna get too much into all of that, but myself, I'm talking more like capital S self, like my being and higher self, and really tuning in and being there for myself and with myself. And again, these types of beliefs don't really matter. Meditating is still being present with yourself. And so I found that in this year, I gave myself such a strong connection with myself, where I feel like I chose to be reliable and dependable for myself and present for myself. And so it just created such a secure attachment within myself, if that makes sense. Like, anyone that understands for relationships, it's important to start with a secure attachment within yourself, and to be secure within yourself, and to also be able to self-soothe and be there for yourself in order to best show up in relationships with others too. And so I found that I really gave myself what I needed in this year of acute grief, where I gave myself presence. And sometimes when we experience the loss of a close loved one, it can almost feel like a sense of abandonment, which there are a lot of different feelings that come up in grief. And even if you haven't experienced the death of a loved one, you might have wounding, like abandonment wounds, that I find meditating every day and showing up for yourself every day, being present with yourself every day, that can really help to heal that. And so I feel like in that year of acute grief, I was able to keep my head above water and keep myself in likely a much better place than I would have been had I not been doing this practice. And that's what I find for a lot of stuff that revolves around natural health, natural wellness, like most of the types of stuff that I make YouTube videos on. It's all stuff that when going through difficult times in life, it's like a life raft that just helps you to stay afloat when things can be incredibly difficult. And that metaphor, like water, typically symbolizes our emotions. And so sometimes we could feel like if there's a really heavy emotional thing happening, it really, that metaphor just makes sense to me, is staying afloat with this life raft. And I see these natural wellness practices as a life raft through difficult times. And so that's what meditation for me was every day. And it was so easy to incorporate in my everyday life, in the sense that A lot of times when I did this, it was when I was on public transit going to work, and so I would take time. At the time I had the Insight Timer app, which is an app that has meditation and music. I typically just listen to the sounds and music for meditation. Now I think you have to pay to be able to listen to anything on Insight Timer, so if you guys know any other types of apps that you can listen to something for free, like just listen to meditation music or audio for free, then let us know in the comments. Or if I find something, I might have a link in the description. I also have a free energy healing meditation in the description, and I have a lot of YouTube videos with guided energy healing meditations, and one that's also just a 5-minute cleansing breath meditation. So it's just being present with the breath. So I'll link my meditations down in the video description, because especially if you have YouTube Premium, or even if you're on Spotify, you've got whatever you pay for where you don't get ads, essentially, because you don't necessarily want to be listening to ads while you're meditating. But if you're paying for anything where you don't get ads and you can just listen to meditation music, that can be really helpful. So I would have my headphones in while I'd be sitting on public transit, and I would just breathe consciously for 10-15 minutes. Sometimes it would be for a half hour on public transit. And then I'd arrive to the destination and I'd feel like in such a better place than I would have had I not been doing that. And when not on public transit, sometimes I would just do it in my bed. I could just literally lay there, and if I set the timer, sometimes I would know that I was going to do more than a minute, even though it was a minimum 1 minute a day. Sometimes I would set a timer for 5 or 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and I would be able to continue if I wanted. If the timer went off and I felt like I was in a good space and wanted to continue the meditation, I would. But so it can easily be done as soon as you wake up or right before going to sleep, just consciously tuning into your breath for at least a minute. And when I would be at work, sometimes I would take a break, and on my break, sometimes I'd go outside, sit on a picnic table or something, or a bench, and just do my meditation there. So throughout the day, it would just give me a moment to tune in with myself, be present with myself, regulate my breath, which also helps to regulate emotions. And it was just such a beautiful practice to be giving to myself every day, and it's something that's completely free. So even if you don't have proper audio to listen to, you can literally listen to nothing and just breathe. All it is breathing. If you set a timer for 1 minute, you just take deep inhales and deep exhales and just breathe consciously for a minute. That's all this is. It's such a simple and easy practice, and it's so doable to do every day. And it's so beautiful to give yourself that gift of being present with yourself and being there for yourself every day, even just for a moment a day. And if you're going through something difficult, then it can be really impactful in the sense of just being a bit more even keeled when you could otherwise be a bit more like having a difficult time, where I'm picturing like the water is like really shaky. Maybe if you're going through something and it can be hard to stay afloat, like here's a life raft. It's just your breath. It's very helpful. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments if you've ever done this type of practice. Again, I'll have some links in the video description for meditations for you. I've got some other videos on my experiences with meditation, so check the video description for any resources. I also have an energy healing program called Sanctuary, so especially if you are going through something difficult, it can be really helpful to go through this healing program that really helps to heal and shift things internally. And there are some guided energy healing meditations that are really powerful in that program to let go of different things and to shift within and claim your power and create your desired reality from there. So I'll have a link in the video description for Sanctuary and my other healing programs. And if you like this video, then you'll probably like this one, so you can check that out next. And if you liked this video, then also please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, click the notification bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. Thanks so much for being here, and if you choose to do this, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about your experience, and may you be happy, healthy, and free. Bye.